Welcome to another We Thrive at Life chat. I'm Anne Marie, your host, and today I have the pleasure of being with my friend Pamela J, which we love to call her lovingly Pamela Joy, because that is what she is full of. She is just so full of joy. Pamela, I am so glad to have you here, and I thank you for agreeing to spend some time with us. And I'd love to introduce you to our audience. So, Pamela is a leadership mentor. She is a natural voice empowerment guide. She's an author who helps heart centered women entrepreneurs unlock their authentic soul voice. And for over 20 years, my little friend here has guided thousands to speak with unshakable confidence, write from flow, and make a lasting difference in the lives of others. Her online community, the Soul Voice Studio, doesn't that sound so precious? Empowers entrepreneurs to earn six-figure incomes part-time doing what they love. Pam has healed herself from chronic illness through her voice, singing in a silo on her farm. When her voice came alive, her illness disappeared. So, most recently, she has spent 2.5 years in a primitive, so cute, treehouse in North Carolina, where she developed her signature soul led leadership system, which she now teaches to others, and her memoir, A Soul Led Life, The Art of Trusting Your Inner Guidance Beyond All Doubt, is due to come out this January, and I am so excited. I can't wait to see it. Welcome, Pamela. I'm so glad that you're here, and I have all sorts of questions for you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. It is a joy to
So,
be here. It is just a joy to find you in my life at this particular time as we are, yes, spreading our wings, spreading our joy, spreading our gifts that we're here to share with others. Thank you.
yes. So tell us about how you go about helping people to find their voice. And one of my main questions was, is there a common thread that you see in those who lose their voices? Like, do they have they gone through trauma, illness, have something happen in their lives that have caused them to kind of retreat and feel like they can't talk?
Yes, well, those are very, very good questions. And, our voice is as natural to us and as unique to us as our fingerprint. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
thought about it that way.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and of course, all kinds of things can cause it to shift away from its naturalness. And
Mhm.
that could be a chronic illness. I happen to have had Crohn's disease, was what I
Mm.
was diagnosed with at 38. And that's an intestinal disease that is inflammation. And the inflammation caused my vocal cords to also swell. And so I lost my voice due to that. I work with women, gosh, from all over the world. And what a great question you've posed. It can be environmental toxins sometimes that cause it. More often than not, though, it's a emotional something or a trauma that has happened, or just the conditioning that you've grown up with in a family.
Mm.
Perhaps you were told to, not show up your brothers and sisters, or be quiet and sit down, or nice girls don't do this, or you're too bossy, and all of those kinds of messages. So what
Mm.
I help people do is learn to tap into and become very present within their physical body and begin to listen to what I call the voice within, right? And
Mm.
it's like, oh, when you connect in that way, you're starting to trust that this is an instrument, right? And you're learning to retune it. And so what you learn to do is override the conditioning, override the trauma, which is not always an easy thing to do.
Mhm.
Um, but just knowing that, first of all, it's not your fault, right? It's something that has happened in your life, but I know you look at life this way and Marie as well. And so begin to ask, how's this happened for me?
Mhm.
To me,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
even the most traumatic things can be looked at and seen this way in hindsight. And
Yeah.
so that is how it begins, where, first of all, people begin to just relax and think, oh, it's about remembering what's already in there. It's not that we have to fix something, it's that it will. correct itself as we can relax and become present and trust that we're already healthy, whole, and an instrument to be used to the highest good.
Mm, that's wonderful. I know for myself that there was a lot of things that happened. My first one was an accident when I was in my mid 20s. And I was on my way to move to, like, this great job that I had gotten, and I didn't want to do the commute, and so I wanted to be closer to work. And the accident caused me to. I'd been working there for a little while. My All of my stuff had just kicked in, and my insurance and all this, and then the song by Mr. was playing on the radio, Lord Have Mercy on the Road That I Must Travel, and I lost control of the car. I didn't know it at the time, but something had happened to the suspension on the car, and I just was going all over the place, and I couldn't get control of the wheel, and so I just closed my eyes and I'm like, I'm gonna die. And the I just took my hands off the wheel and just let the car go, because my trying to move it from, because I went from one side to the other, hit the guardrail, came back, tried to get it back, hit the guardrail again, and then, but I know that those things, and I'm an observer to begin with. I'll sit back and I'll observe and I'll wait and I'll see. And that has kind of caused me to lose my voice too, because I think sometimes I've always had people talk over me. And
Mm.
I think it's because I just sit there and I observe, so they think I have nothing to say. And I even remember one of my friends say to me, yes, they were a friend. Why don't you keep talking so we can talk over you?
Oh my
And
God.
right after it was said, they were like, because they were kidding around, but they also knew that it hurt, and so I think sometimes people, when they're constantly put in that place, that they don't feel that what they say has value, and then they don't have value, and then their confidence starts to go down. And unfortunately, or fortunately, right, this accident wasn't the first thing that happened. So I think that with every experience that we have, of course I'm older, and as I look back, things are different, but it's important to remember to not shrink ourselves when we have a situation that makes us question, where's God in my pain? Why does this kind of stuff keep happening to me? Is there a dartboard in my forehead? And and I think that can kind of take away the voice, because our voice is our power, it's our freedom, it's our expression, right?
It is. Thank you for sharing that. And you brought up something really important. And you asked about a commonality. It seems that I have a tendency to draw to me women who are more introverted by nature, meaning they
Mm,
strength from within,
mm,
and they are oftentimes observers. And
mm,
this is such a lovely gift. And what they begin to discover is that because they are watching and observing, they're noticing things that others are not.
mm,
Oftentimes then there comes times later when when they begin to speak, people really listen because it's like, wow, she doesn't talk very often.
mm,
So
mm.
there is this beautiful, it's almost like a discernment. You learn to discern when to speak and when to listen, and to notice that there might be moments when you are triggered and feel like you should be quiet, but it may be that you're just being called to just be still and listen and keep observing and trust that beautiful gift that you have. and,
Mhm,
and that is such a lovely thing when people have that little light bulb go off and they say, oh yeah, I've always been that, and I thought I had to overcome my shyness or my introversion or whatever and be like out there, and it never felt natural. It's not necessarily your inner nature, but there are times, absolutely, you're called to speak. And when you do, and you speak from your soul voice, meaning not your head voice, right, which is up in here, more your heart voice, I call it, or your soul voice, it is it is received by others more times than not, as more authentic, more relaxed, more confident, right?
Yeah.
There's all this scientific evidence that's been so fun to discover since my my illness, and I healed in like 12 weeks time. My voice was back and I became an award-winning singer-songwriter, and I'd never done that before, but the voice came pouring out and it's like, oh my goodness, right? That
Mhm.
is just really, really amazing. But there is just there's something just so beautiful about finding this naturalness that's there, and maybe you even remember it from when you were a child, right?
Mhm.
But recognizing that what has been shut down, and we're being called to, to express ourselves, to share our gifts like never before, which
Mhm.
involves sharing the voice. Now,
Mhm.
to mention the scientific evidence that's out now, which is really, really fun, because when you are speaking from your heart, there is even scientific evidence that hormones are being released when you laugh. Endorphins,
Yes. Yeah.
dopamine, right?
Mhm.
All of these things are coming through your breath, your voice, and people can feel that.
Mhm.
If you're nervous and you're uptight and you're in your head, people can feel that too.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
this is so helpful because people are not really hungry for more information as much as they're hungry for connection. So
Yes.
speaking from your authentic voice, and it starts to be far more fun if you're in business and making videos like you and,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, suddenly it's like, oh, I'm just here to be me, right?
Right.
And
Right.
that takes a lot of that pressure off, because
Mhm.
thing you need to overcome. It's more that you are uncovering what's already been there and been there all along.
Right. As you were speaking, I thought of God and how the world was created, right? It was created through voice. Everything he said, let there be, let there be, let there be. And he is light, so light is electricity, it's vibration, and it's that same, like light, that vibration that just comes through us, that frequency, because I believe that, when you started speaking up and when you started singing, right, that frequency just went like lightning through your body, right? And then it just heals everything that's in it, you know?
It's what was out of balance. Absolutely.
Yes,
And
yes.
I've been on almost a 40-year journey since then. It's like, how
Mhm.
what happened? It's like, well, that is just, it's a miracle. And I'm here to share that miracle. And you're right. And then it's
Yeah.
like, and then everything in me is like, oh, we're all an instrument, right? And
Yes.
our beautiful honor in this world is to be the light of, I mean, be the
Mhm.
light of the world and
Right.
share that. And you're absolutely right. It comes through, and it comes through the breath.
Mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
one of the most common things that I notice with so many is how often we hold our breath, which
Right.
just stunning to me. And yet you realize, back to what you were talking about, if you've been traumatized, if you have any kinds of fears of speaking, you're going to have a clutch, which you can feel in your gut as well as your throat.
Right.
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 And it sometimes can happen when you're excited as well, not
Mhm.
just when you're nervous, right? Or
Mhm.
re-traumatized. So being mindful of your breathing and just beginning to notice in your day-to-day activities how often you might be holding your breath and not being aware of it. I've had I've had some of my clients make videos like a minute, 2 minute long video, and I swear they were not breathing the whole time. They were just talking from their head. Right here, I'm holding my breath right now as I'm talking,
Right.
and
Oh.
it starts to be strained and all of that. So just realizing that when you speak, the words are coming through the breath, and there should be air flowing over your vocal cords. And then you get a new breath, and it's best to do it right through the nose. Many do it through the mouth, which makes your vocal cords dry and makes you
Oh.
can become hoarse if you are speaking a lot. Get a breath and begin talking again.
Mhm.
So it's such a basic skill, but it can just turn things around so quickly. And
Mm.
just like you said about just observing, just notice. And then if you notice yourself holding your breath, don't go, oh, bad me, I didn't know. No, that's just more of the same old stuff. It's just like,
Mhm.
go, oh, I just noticed that. Huh. And you don't
Mhm.
have to even know why. Just know that you have done that. And in some cases, it's been a protective mechanism where you
Yes.
feel safe and you could go in and feel like you were safe. So, in that sense, it served you well in times when you might have felt in danger,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
so, thank it. Go,
mm.
hey, thanks, but you know what? I've got this now. We're going to be okay. When you're not breathing fully, your brain gets the message. Anne Marie does not have enough air. She is going to die. So it kicks in to fight,
Oh,
flight, or freeze.
wow.
That makes it freeze even more.
Uh-huh. Right.
It's as if you get the breath, the brain gets the message. Oh, there's plenty of air here. I can just relax. I don't have to protect Anne Marie from anything.
Mm,
Back seat. And the
mm.
parasympathetic nervous system keeps you calm
Yes.
and grounded. It's just becoming aware of these simple little things that can make such a big difference. So, in a sense, you are undoing all of these old habits, and
Mhm,
some of them have served you well over
mm.
the years. So,
So,
um,
what would be some tips if people get caught in these situations? Like for me, I also work with people who have had traumatic brain injuries.
mhm.
And so having them to just stop and prepare their bodies, prepare, because a lot of times there's just this, like you said, just the brain just locks up. And then as soon as you say, I can't, or that lockup happens, right? Everything else locks up as well. And then, like you said, you're in this fight, flight, and what are some steps that you can give from your perspective to help people when they get in, like they feel like they're backed up against the corner and they're stuck there and there's nothing they can do, when they're in that fight or flight? How do you get them out of that with their
Yeah,
voice?
what a beautiful question. And I have had the honor of working with several people who've had very severe post traumatic stress syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the first thing always is to breathe, to get a breath, so that and just to pause to do that. And it's tricky because when it hits very quickly, and it's like a memory in your whole body on a cellular level, right? So here's the thing I started to realize. I went, if it is possible to have such severe traumatic, post traumatic stress that your body can't tell the difference. I was working with a Vietnam vet at the time. Um, if his body can't tell the difference between if he is here safe in his apartment or he is on the battlefield, I said, wouldn't the opposite be true? That if he had a beautiful memory in his life that he could
Mm,
call on in those moments, his body could go into that memory. I
right.
call these rememberings.
Mm,
Is the reverse of the memory of the trauma, which is going to just keep triggering that. If you can get a breath, and this is helpful, and it doesn't always happen, certainly the first time, but it opens up a new possibility for someone who becomes so afraid of, oh my gosh, when's the next attack coming, right?
right, right.
And so that's a beautiful thing to call in. And
Mm,
most of us have memories, not everyone, but most of us have a beautiful memories uh, of really feeling at some point in life, even as a child, perhaps, of feeling close to God, of feeling like all's right with the world, something beautiful, something loving,
mhm,
and you can pull that back in with a visualization of being with a beloved pet, perhaps, or a person that has had a positive impact in your life.
mhm,
Create a visualization, certainly meditation, and these rememberings that are beautiful, coming in and holding and anchoring that frequency, all
mhm.
breathing can keep you. And little by little, you start to realize that you're in control of the situation, and that you can feel empowered and go, oh, there it is. Oh,
Mm,
but you catch it sooner and sooner. So I've had wonderful success in that. What a
mhm.
question. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, it becomes a habit, if you do it on a continual basis,
Yeah.
and it starts to become a habit and something that you can put in your toolbox for when those things happen. Because sometimes I know for me, there's been times where I call it like, say, spiritual amnesia or something, where you're so used to doing something and you know how to get out, but for a split second, you just don't remember because there's that fright for a sec, right? Because you are in that room, like you were talking about with the vet. You're in that room where such and such happened, but then if you just breathe and let your brain get that breath and you start to realize, be cognizant. I teach about being cognizant of what's around you because then that kind of wakes you up a little bit. Because if you start looking around and you start to see where you are, you'll realize where you aren't, right?
That's good. That's another tip that I've used, and I appreciate you reminding me of that. Because one other thing you can do is just pause, get the breath, and just like you said, look around. And I actually will say, look at things and then physically name them. Oh,
Mm,
there's
mm-hmm,
water, there's
mm-hmm.
the floor,
Yeah.
there's yellow light,
Mm,
there's the plant. Guess what you've done? You've given
mm.
your brain something else to do.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it brings you in and helps you ground. And a lot of people who have had post-traumatic stress tend to hold their breath and they literally like flip a little bit like up and out of their body and they disassociate. So that's a way to come in. Singing,
Mm-hmm.
humming is another one, but you
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a singer, but and coming in and staying and coming back into your body and feeling safe within your body,
Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
for anyone who has been sexually traumatized, that can be a really, really tricky one, but
Yeah.
it's possible. So
Mm-hmm.
these are just wonderful things I've picked up over the years. Um, and the heart, oh my goodness, the heart is so capable of so much and can hold so much and come into coherence, as you said, right?
Yeah. Right.
Doing these things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just broadening it to think, oh, first of all, there's nothing wrong with me,
Yeah.
and that can be shifted and changed. And once
Mm-hmm.
again, science is showing us again and again, it's like, oh my goodness, new neural pathways are being created in
Mm-hmm.
the brain as you are practicing these sorts of things.
Yes, yes. And that's the other thing to realize too is that our minds are so powerful and they're so intricate and they can the way that it regenerates itself, to be able to create different neural pathways to be able to handle the situations that we're in. And I've even looked into, it could heal itself just like we heal our voices. It can heal itself of those memories if we, properly try to channel that. Like you go, like the other day, I was on a call and we were talking about finances and we were talking about where we were with finances and thinking of our most successful time in life and what were the feelings that that time produced in our bodies. And I remember closing my eyes and I looked back to this one time where business was going great. I just bought my favorite car, just the inside of the car, the outside of the car, the whole thing. And it was free, because I was getting bonuses to be able to buy that free car. And so it just brought me back there. And all of the feelings that I had at that time started to resurface. And it gave me, because I think sometimes we forget about the wins that we have and we get stuck in this place and we don't take the time to remember the good things, especially when we're stuck in these places where PTSD rises up and trauma rises up. And it's important to get into those places of good vibrations, right?
That's so good. Oh my
And we
goodness.
got to keep those good vibrations going so that the brain can heal, the body can heal, like you did, to get that inflammation out so
Absolutely.
that we can.
course, what was happening in that. But what you just described with the car, that's a form of remembering, right? Because you tap into that feeling and you re-experience it. Your
Mhm.
brain can't
Mhm.
tell the difference if
Mhm.
you're sitting in that car or if you're remembering it. I mean, that's pretty amazing, right?
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
the body responds to that.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
taking time in our to find and move from what feels good, and we're guided in that. That's the
Mhm.
inner
Mhm.
voice. That's in
Mhm.
connection with God and in prayer. It's like, oh, wow, wow.
Yeah.
And then you relax into it all. And
Mhm.
instead of we've been taught, everything's wrong, we have to fix it all. And I do think that there are things in certainly in modern medicine that are very helpful, and there are things that we can do alternatively. And I never say throw away all your pills and
Yes.
but it's just like you find what works for you in that,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
nature is such a healer as
It
well.
is. It
I
is.
I
It
find
is.
that to be really a beautiful thing. And for most people, it is comfortable. Vietnam vets had a little trouble with that, however, because they
Mm.
put in the brush and out, and they felt a vulnerability in nature that I've never experienced. So
Mm. Mm.
just don't know, but following that joy, following that. And I always like to say, can you begin to look first with eyes of beauty?
Mm.
Begin to look for what is working well,
Mhm.
right? Rather than what's not working, what's working well.
Mhm.
And I'm, getting older, and I just finished caring for my aging parents in their final years.
Mhm.
And I watched them uh, have a greater appreciation for the simple things in
Yes.
life.
Yes. It,
And yeah, and so that living, very present
mhm.
with
Mhm.
now, being
Mhm.
now,
Mhm.
slowing down, and that
Mhm.
quiet observer that you brought up in the beginning, so precious and so important.
Mhm.
How many times do you drive somewhere in a car and you don't even remember how you got there?
Right.
Um, so mechanical.
Mhm.
Or that we use these machines and become dependent on them, it's a temptation, a
Mhm.
time in our days to go outside and connect with nature, breathing in that fresh air. Oh my goodness, the benefits of nature, and that
Mhm.
a large part of how I healed from my illness as well.
Wow. Yeah. I think too, we have to, a daily practice. I think a good thing to do is to remember times where things were positive and not be stuck in whatever the situation is right now. Um, one of my one of my scriptures that I remind myself is that, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony. And so when we're not able to speak and we're not able to remember, those are the things that we have to learn to practice every day. Like you, I'm an author as well, and I helped to usher my dad to his next place, and I remember the days before he lost his voice, and I remember the things that happened, and that it is just so precious to have those memories, and one of the last things that I was making him, I made him breakfast and he had become non-ambulatory at this point. And so I brought breakfast to him and I was feeding him. And he kept saying to me, he kept thanking me for what I was doing for him. Thank you for getting me my breakfast. Thank you for everything you do for me. And he's like, I'm gonna pray to God that He blesses you. I'm praying for you. And after a while, he kept like the way that he was saying that I'm gonna pray to God to bless you, and I'm gonna keep praying for you, and that God will. And I said, do you know who I am? And he looked at me with like he didn't. And I said, Daddy, it's Anne Marie. And this tear just came down his eye because he just realized that he had forgotten his firstborn, and I could tell it scared the cooties out of him. But as soon as I said that to him and that happened, all of these memories started flushing back into him and he started telling me all these crazy things I did when I was little. And I remember him saying to me, they always told me to watch out for you because you watch out for that one. She's going to do big things. She's going to do big things. And I hung on to that afterwards. And I thought to myself, what are these big things? What are these big things? Because for years, I was a licensed cosmetologist, a makeup artist. And that was my thing. I sold the product. I put the product on people, and that was my life. But then here we go. You're going to do, what are these great things? Have I not? I mean, I earned cars, I earned jewelry, did weddings for big things on TV, whatever. But he's telling me I'm going to do bigger things. And so then the quest became, what is that? Which came to me being an author, a coach, and all these other things now. But hanging on to those things is what started giving me the voice. And I remember it was my second or third book that I think it was the second one. It was Esther. And I'm tracking the book because there's been a delay, right? So I'm looking to see where it is and I'm watching it and I turn the corner and I'm also turning the corner physically at a number in my life that I've never been before. It's going into the sixes now and out of the fives,
Yeah.
you know? and, uh, and that was also bothering me. So the book is coming that morning, and all of a sudden, it's like we have to watch where the thoughts are coming from because it was like, here you are, this age, what have you accomplished? Da 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 da. And and then here's knock knock, here's my book. And
Oh,
so realizing that when you're about to turn a corner, don't just let it all go because something better is coming. And I think that it's a ploy of the enemy to keep us quiet when big things are coming, to get us into like this scare mode so we don't realize all of the things. Because then it all started flooding back in and flushing in. Wait a minute. What person at this age, and I know there's many, but for me, around me, what person at this age has written two books so
mhm.
far? And I was on my third one already because they all, everything that I had been writing from COVID on and even before that. And one of the things that I'm working on, it's all written, but it's very painful to go back to, but it's like, who stole your pen? Because every day we are writing the book of our lives, and all of these little tragedies that happen, it's like somebody just coming and taking your pen. And I feel that when someone does that, when someone takes your pen, they're taking your voice. And we need to be mindful of the people in our lives. And I'm actually teaching a course tonight, and tonight's I can't tonight's study that we're going to be doing is all about setting boundaries so that they're with grace and they're peaceful and we're not letting things in that we know can harm us. And I think that when we don't set those boundaries, right now we're shutting up again because we're letting other people encroach on our property
Right.
and keeping us quiet, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And so it's important to create those boundaries to remember where we were, where we are. And if you don't like where you are right now, start thinking of those times. How did you get there? What brought you there? And what were the things that you said? Because I think just like the world was created, our voices create too. And we need to be mindful of the words that come out. I think one of the words that really binds up the mind is can't. I
Mhm.
I believe as soon as the mind hears can't, everything starts to shut down because it stops looking. Our mind is supposed to be looking for. I always ask myself, not every night, but if something is happening, when I go to bed, I ask God, what's up with this? What's the answer to this? Because I physically can't figure it out by myself. And for the most part, it when I wake up that next morning and I'm doing my thing and getting ready and doing stuff, it's like the answer just comes because your mind, say you just bought a car and it's a certain type model car, certain color. All of a sudden, you start seeing that everywhere. Why is that? Because that's where your brain is, and it's just trained to look for the things that you're looking for, right?
You Google it. Absolutely, right? Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
hmm
Absolutely.
So we
I
have to
love
start
that.
looking for things that are gonna keep our voices going, that are
That's
gonna
right.
allow us, to just step back and know when to speak and what, because sometimes it's not good to speak, right?
Yeah, that's
And knowing the difference between the two, but not allowing anyone to cross that fence that shuts up our mouths.
That's right. That's right. And I love that
Yeah.
you've written books and two, yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. And now you're working on another one, right? But yeah, that's a form of the voice, the creative
Mhm,
expression, right?
mhm,
Voicing
mhm,
your story, sharing your story.
mhm,
Art, singing, all of these are your
mhm,
divine creative expression coming
mhm,
through. So that voice. And then the inner voice, the connection to God in your prayer and all. And then we've also identified that there are other voices that want to creep in and tell us to sit up, to sit
mhm,
down and shut up and all of those sorts of things and recognize that those are conditioned things,
mhm.
our family,
Yeah.
things we've read, our society, all of those things
Mhm,
and and to just still really stay true to that deeper listening. I call it, listening and staying connected in that way. What is, and trusting your own intuition beyond
mhm,
all doubt, even when and especially when it doesn't maybe make sense to others in your life.
mhm, mhm.
And
Do you think that our confidence and deserve level has a lot to do with our speaking and our voice?
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I remember, I'm 71. I remember when I was in junior high, my mother was literally, she was June Cleaver in the kitchen when I got home from school and doing all the domestic things. So by the time I was in junior high, she had gone back to work, right?
Mm,
Go make a living and then come home and also juggle all of those sorts of things. So her voice was coming out, and then she'd get home, and dad would get home, and whoop, then she would become subservient, again,
mm,
and lose herself in all of that. So it was such an interesting time to grow up. Where it was like a mixed message, right? It's
mhm.
okay to be, you know, um, strong and powerful in this sense and be who you are, and then in other ways it's like, no, don't do that. So that was interesting. How do you feel about that?
I think that that's one of the things that keeps us quiet is not feeling confident and not feeling like we deserve a place in the room, that we deserve for our voices to be heard.
Mhm.
And I think that comes from, maybe childhood where we were shut up for one reason or another. And so that shut up is in the back of our brains until we find people who do want to hear what what we have to say. In I just remembered in counter to what I was sharing before, I met with somebody from my Bible study. They happen to be close by because on this one Bible study, people are from all different places, and so we decided to have coffee, and we were sitting there, and she's like, "I'm on my tippy toes every week because I love to hear what you have to say."
That's great.
So we
Yeah.
went from, be quiet so that we don't, you know,
Well, yeah,
yeah.
and that's such a beautiful thing. The other thing to be real aware of is that we've been rewarded for playing
hmm hmm
and
hmm
in many ways got our power by being a pleaser.
Yes.
Boy,
Yes.
that's a hard one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, parents were pleased if I was didn't make anything higher than a B plus because I didn't make my siblings feel bad. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, so that was a way we found our own sense of power and worth, was to be pleasing others, right? And that gets old and tiring and can cause illnesses of all sorts. But
Yeah.
another way, right? So what we recognize is like, right, it's not powerlessness or
Hmm.
over something, it's the power within.
Yeah. Yeah. And we all have to find that power, healthy ways to wield it, because it could be a sword that just slashes everywhere. Or it could be, there's my target and I'm going for it and I know how to use it. And that's the thing, we have to know how to use our voices properly, that we use them for love and for peace and for kindness. And we don't use it for, to harm others or to gossip or things like that. Because it's just such a powerful tool that the Lord gave to us, and
It is.
we need to use it properly.
Yeah, and what a wonderful thing that we can even have these conversations now, right? About
Mhm. Yeah,
it is a
yeah.
time, and that we all have a unique voice and we all have a unique way of looking at the world, and we all have our own, higher calling. And are we answering it? Are we listening?
Mm,
Are we honoring that? And
yeah,
that is, you're talking about doing greater things. That is like the greatest thing of all, is to, can we just see that we are life? We've been given the gift of life.
yes.
We're here to embody and share love.
Hmm.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's not as so much about what we accomplish and what we do, although that's lovely too.
Hmm.
The greatest thing. So you are, you see, doing great things, Anne Marie.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, yes. So, Pam, how can people get a hold of you? I know that you have your community on school, um, and that you are working through that. Do you have a website? How do you want people to contact you if they want to engage with you and learn more of the skills that you teach others and help them find their voice?
I've worked with private clients for many years, and it came about while I was caring for my parents who lived in two different states. So
Mm,
word of mouth is what carried it, and I did it without an email list and a website and all of those things. But what
mhm,
I'm opening now is a place where people can gather,
mm,
particularly women. I love
mhm,
entrepreneurs and helping be an early champion for their visions in my school community, which is free, and
mhm,
it is the Soul Voice Studio, and
mhm,
people are coming, gathering to share, have these conversations, to practice, and maybe even practice making videos, opening up their voices. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and I consider it's almost like a ministry for me. It's
yes.
I just really am excited to offer this. I used to have a learning center on my historic farm, and I always thought that I would have, when I lived in my treehouse in the mountains of North Carolina, I always imagined that I'd be broadcasting a podcast from there, which is why I'm building a treehouse set behind me here, because I'm getting ready to do a podcast. But please come and take a peek. The link
Mm,
will be listed below, and come in. You'll know in a moment if it's for you or not. And the
mhm,
first 50 who are arriving are receiving a free gift with me, a soul voice reading, where I can sit with you, knee to knee, wherever you live, and listen and just see where you might be blocking your highest gift, your voice, right? Your
mm.
voice of love. So
Amen.
thank you.
Amen. Yes. All right. So I will put that in the when we do the recording, I will put that on there so that people the link so that people can just click on it and get a hold of you, and you can get a hold of us also at We Thrive at Life, and we'll hook you up with Pam. So thank you
I'm
so
very
much for being here with me today. I mean, I love you. I love seeing you during our meetings and being your girlfriend.
grateful. Thank
It's
you.
just such a pleasure.
You were
Yeah.
actually one to come to my aid when I had a technical issue and I was starting my community, and just went, oh, what a giving soul she is. So I'm happy to be
Oh,
here. And I
thank
hope
you.
your listeners have benefited from this and can, pause to recognize maybe how often they're holding their breath, how often
Mm,
they're are shutting themselves down and can continue to follow to open that up. And I'm happy to help where I can. Thank you, Anne Marie.
Amen. Thank you, Pam. All right, so that's the end of our session. And thank you, Pam, again. I feel the joy coming off of you. It's like I don't want to hang up.
You
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you.
you as well. Thank you. Bye for now.